Welcome, everybody. Hopefully more people will join in a second. And this is the second installment of the teachings on the 6 paramita. I have asked Venerable Tenzin Palmo, who is starting the Masters in Buddhism at Lama Tsongkhapa Institute in Pomaya, Italy, to come and give us the teachings. Last Saturday was an introduction and remembrance of how much we need to generate bodhicitta before we get started. Aspirational bodhicitta, engaging bodhicitta, and then starting with the three of the first paramitas. And I'm sure also Venerable will recap and get a little introduction as well. And thank you for joining in, everybody from many places around the world. And with that, I will just hand over the word to Venerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And hello, everybody. And thank you for joining, because it's Saturday afternoon, at least here in Italy, it's a Saturday early afternoon, and there are so many things you probably need to do on weekend and so many options. But thank you for choosing this option to listen to the Dharma in general and to my talk about the 6 paramitas in particular. Yeah, as you already know, my name is Tenzin Palmo, and I now I have just started studying the master program here in Lama Tsongkhapa's in Italy. I am originally from Prague, from Czech Republic. And before I came here to Italy, I lived for 7 years in Kathmandu, in Kopananeri. So when Lars talked about Kathmandu, it brought memories for me, of course, because it was wonderful time, but it's also good to be here in Italy and to study. And it's also nice to meet you and have this opportunity to speak about the 6 perfections together. So thank you once more for joining. And as you know, we have 2 hours together to spend from 1 till 3 p.m. Rome time. And we will have a break in the middle so that you can make a couple of tea or stretch or whatever, because I imagine that to sit and listen for 2 hours, it's quite long. And of course, you can ask me any questions anytime, but I will also try to leave time towards the end to discuss what will be said and to ask questions and like that. Yeah. So we always start any virtuous activity, and discussing the Dharma surely is a virtuous activity, but for any virtuous activity, we try to make sure that we have the correct motivation. So this is what we are going to start with. And also, as I said last time, we will meditate a bit on equalizing and exchanging oneself with others, which is one of the main methods to develop bodhicitta. So somehow to tune in what we are going to talk about, we will use this method. So we will start with a little meditation. So please find a good, comfortable position for meditation. We are probably sitting on chair, as I am. That's perfectly fine. It would be good to keep your back straight and feet touching the floor and the whole body, the whole muscles relaxed somehow. So let's take a minute to check our body, to kind of scan it from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And if you feel any little tension or any pain anywhere in the body, try to relieve it, try to relax it. And let's try to relax also our mind. With a couple of deep breaths, we will bring it to this moment, leaving behind all our plans or memories or thoughts or duties, things we have to do. We just try to bring it to presence. And relax it and calm it down by following our breath for a couple of moments. So just try to focus on your breathing, either the area of abdomen or your nostrils. Just follow your breath naturally. Be like a guard at the gate, not leaving even one in breath or out breath unattended. And when it happens that your mind starts wandering elsewhere or something distracts you and you notice it, just bring your attention back to breath, to the object of our meditation without really paying much attention to what distracted you. And now, in hopefully calm and peaceful state of mind, ask yourself a question: who is this person here trying to meditate? Who am I? What is it that characterizes me? We are from different parts of the world, perhaps different ages, different circumstances, but we have something in common, and that is what is called precious human life. And that means we have everything we need to give a deep meaning to our life. To choose how we want to fulfill it. But vast majority of sentient beings doesn't have such a good fortune. They are in much worse situation. And especially as Master Shantideva says, they wish for happiness, but in their ignorance, they create more and more causes for suffering. And yet we have something in common with all living beings. As His Holiness the Dalai Lama often says, we are all equal in wishing for happiness, safety, love, fulfillment, and wanting to avoid suffering, pain, fear, is there any good reason for discriminating among sentient beings, taking some as friends and others as enemies? Is there any good reason for putting ourselves first and our needs and our wishes above needs and wishes of others? This is also His Holiness's thought that all our problems we face as humanity, starting disagreements in families and finishing with global warming and these type of problems, all comes from selfishness, self-centeredness. And yet, putting ourselves first doesn't bring us any good. It makes us fragile, dissatisfied, overreactive, it leads us to commit non-virtue to satisfy our wishes. And in that way also to unhappiness in future. And what will happen if we open our hearts to cherish others? We can feel relief from our self-obsession. No fear of being rejected. Taking care of others' happiness will bring happiness to ourselves. Exchanging self and others doesn't mean that I will become you, you will become me. It's from the point of view of concern and care. That much we usually give to ourselves, we want to give to others. And the little we usually give to others, we want to shift to ourselves. Let's try to imagine all those sentient beings surrounding us. Different bodies, different backgrounds, different relationships. But same wish for happiness. And same darkness of wandering in samsara. Let's try to take their suffering out of them with in-breath. And with out-breath to give them everything they need. We take their pain, disappointments, fears, hunger, thirst, and we use it to wake up us from our self-cherishing attitude And with our breath, we give them our virtue, transformed in everything they need. Food, shelter, friendship, there is no good reason for cherishing ourselves more than others. And the best way how to take care of others and their needs is to walk the path to Buddhahood, to attainment of perfect ability and compassion and wisdom. Because only Buddha knows what is the best way to benefit others. So let's try to generate a very strong wish to follow this path. And to take the time we have together to create causes for progressing on this path, on the path of Bodhisattva, on the path of Buddha's children, on the Mahayana path. On the best path to perfect, complete happiness for all sentient beings. Thank you very much. Please sit comfortably again. Stretch a bit if you need, if it was a little bit too long maybe. And this was kind of little introduction into what we are doing here, or what we are engaging in. Yeah, this is kind of way how Bodhisattva thinks, how somebody who wants to walk the Mahayana path thinks, that we are all the same in experiencing suffering, and there is no other way, or there is no best way, let's say, to help others than to help them to discover the causes of their sufferings and the paths that can lead them out of their suffering. And of course, an enlightened being, a Buddha, an omniscient being, is in the best position to help others with this, to help others in the most meaningful way, meaning to liberate themselves from all sufferings forever and get the best lasting, reliable happiness. So this is what Bodhisattva wants to do, to become a Buddha, to be of the greatest possible benefit to others. As we said last time, bodhicitta is a mind accompanied by twofold aspiration. One is to complete welfare of others, or fulfill all others' wishes, or fulfill others' aim. And the other factor is to become Buddha, so that he can do the first, so that he can fulfill the first wish. Yeah. And how does bodhicitta lead to six perfections, or how the six perfections are connected with it? I will read a little paragraph from a book called Six Perfections, written by Geshe Sonam Rinchen. And he says, to dream of reaching a destination is not enough. You must pack your bags and set out on the journey. Bodhisattvas who are intent on enlightenment for the sake of all living beings make this a reality by adopting a certain way of life. All the advice the Buddha gave on this way of life and on the multitude activities in which bodhisattvas engage can be subsumed in the six perfections of giving, ethical discipline, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. They comprise every practice needed to fully ripen oneself and others. Yeah, so this is what we are trying to get to. Yeah, we mentioned last time that we can divide bodhicitta into aspiring and engaging, and Master Shantideva in his Bodhisattva Charyavatara explains it as a mere wish to get somewhere, and that would be the aspiring bodhicitta, the mere wish to become enlightened and for the sake of all other sentient beings. But then engaged bodhicitta is already setting out for the journey, already packing the bag and setting out for the journey, as Geshe Sonam Rinchen says in this book. And the journey itself is actually a practice of six perfections. Yeah. And Lars mentioned that last time we spoke about the first three perfections, which is generosity and ethical discipline and patience. And today we will mainly spoke about the last three perfections. But let's briefly repeat what the first three are. Yeah. Or maybe better to start with the question, what really makes them perfection, right? Because not every generosity is perfection of generosity, and not every ethical discipline is ethical. It's the perfection of ethical discipline. But what really makes them to be perfect is this bodhicitta motivation, this wish behind everything we do, so that it serves as a cause for us to achieve enlightenment for benefit of others. And then anything, any virtuous practice we do takes us to the perfection, which according to some philosophical schools only exist on Buddha ground, the real perfection. But for some, it's already in Arya Bodhisattva's mind. But in any case, bodhicitta motivation is that which takes us, that which helps us to perfect our generosity and all our virtuous conduct. all those perfections are state of mind. Yeah, it's not really, and especially about the first one, generosity doesn't really mean to satisfy wishes of all sentient beings, give everybody everything, because that's not possible for us in our present state. And as Master Shantideva says, there are beings who already perfected generosity, but there are still many needy beings, many poor beings, etc. So we defined perfection of generosity as the wish to give, the wish to share, and it doesn't have to be material things. Of course, we can practice generosity of our time and our energy, and especially generosity of Dharma is regarded as the highest. And it doesn't have to be really sitting on a throne and teaching, but any advice we can do in accordance with the Dharma, or any way how we can make other things about the source of their problem and cause and effect relationship and importance of ethical conduct, and any way or any action we can do in this direction for others can be considered generosity of Dharma. Then ethical conduct basically means restraint from harming others, the mind which doesn't want to harm others. And as I mentioned last time, what I really liked, it was like one of the reasons why I immediately wanted to become a Buddhist and immediately almost wanted to become a nun was when it was mentioned that in Buddhism there is no justification for any harm given to any sentient beings for any reason under any circumstances. So this should be really like the highlight of for us, never to harm anybody, and ethical conduct is mostly about completely stop harming others, but also in the Bodhisattva's case, it's not only that the Bodhisattva stops harming others, but actively does the opposite, actively practices the opposite. Instead of the 10 non-virtuous action, he practices their opposite. Instead of taking life, we want to save lives, and instead of stealing, we want to give. Instead of taking from others, we want to give, and instead of harsh words, we want to speak nicely and gently to others, and instead of divisive speech, we want to bring people together by encouraging virtue and by speaking about their good qualities. So it can be taken further than just restraining from harm, but we can and we should actively help others. And then the last perfection we spoke about last time is a perfection of patience. And normally people might imagine, being patient when you have to wait in line or when you have to wait in traffic jam. But what we mean by patience here is the mind that remains at ease while facing suffering. It's kind of fortitude we need, or kind of fortitude we need when things become difficult, and when we tend to get angry or to fight back, or to think about how harmful it is when we get angry, how harmful it is for ourselves, how harmful it is for others. And again, Shantideva says there is no such a harm as anger, and there is no such virtue as patience. It's really important to somehow do the exercise to strengthen our mind, to be able to cope with difficulties with calm and with ease. And it's good to start with little difficulties, and then we will be able to do more and more. And also, we need to be patient when others harm us, but we also need to be patient when life itself becomes difficult, when we are facing difficulties, because the way to Buddhahood is not short and not easy, and it takes many eons, and it will take lots of effort, and it will take lots of courage also. So patience is absolutely indispensable for a spiritual path, especially for a bodhisattva spiritual path, because it's not easy to please sentient beings, and it's not easy to deal with their wishes, but bodhisattva never gives up. And today we are going to speak about the last three. Also, it is said in the text that they are how they, they are respectively more and more difficult to practice. Let's say it's easier to practice generosity than ethical conduct, and it's easier to practice ethical conduct than patience. And also, it is said sometimes that the first three perfection ideal, let's say, situation for them to practice is in family situation, in normal situation, let's see, for lay people, why the last three, and especially last two, they rather require retreat environment or retreat situation. But Jewish effort is kind of exceptional, let's say, exceptional in a sense that everything has to be supported by it, and it has to be adopted by any practitioner, actually, because without energy and without perseverance, we cannot really get anywhere. Yeah. As Master Chandrakirti says, all good qualities follow perseverance or joyous effort. It is the cause for the two accumulations, meaning accumulation of wisdom, accumulation of merit. And even in worldly terms, if we want to achieve something, we really need effort to go for it. And without effort, or let's say with laziness, which is the opposite of joyous effort, then no progress is possible, even if we let alone on the spiritual path, but even in worldly matters, no progress is possible. And Master Shantideva also says in his first chapter, that in this world already many Buddhas appeared and taught the Dharma, and all conditions were there many times, because we have all these lives since beginning last time, so we experience already so many things and so many good conditions, and why are we still ordinary, right? And the answer is because of the lack of joyous effort, because of being lazy, actually. And also in Lama Tsongkhapa, in Three Principles of Path, he explains the three principles. The three principles of path, as you probably know, it is renunciation, and bodhicitta, and the right view of emptiness. And after explaining all that, then he says, and now, time for you to retreat to solitude and to generate joyous effort to quickly achieve your goal, or something like this. Meaning, we have the opportunity to listen to Dharma. We have many books perhaps we can read, and these days it's very easy also through this technical tools like Zoom or on YouTube. You can find many teachings. Everything is there, all conditions are there, but to really make a progress, we need effort. We need the next step to use the teachings, and applying effort, changing our mind and developing our mind, and purifying our mind and walking the right path. In this context, joyous effort is defined as delight in virtue. It's quite simple, right? Delight in virtue. Yeah. If we delight in a non-virtue, it's in fact laziness, because there are three types of laziness. which is again probably wider than we normally imagine when we speak about laziness. But when texts speak about laziness, there are 3 types of laziness. So it is not just doing nothing, but can be, well, first is laziness of procrastination. So it's kind of doing nothing and thinking that there is enough time and we can do it tomorrow and so forth. But there is also laziness of putting ourselves down, which might be surprising, but it's also kind of laziness, you know, not having confidence that we can do something, and not having confidence that if we practice, the result would come. Then that's also considered a type of laziness. So thinking that we cannot accomplish anything, that's a type of laziness. And also it is a wrong thinking, because we know that we all have Buddha nature and we all can achieve enlightenment. And the reason, I mean, the difference between ourselves and those who are already Buddhas or Bodhisattvas is just in the amount of effort we have put into it in a path in a chain of our lives, let's say. Yeah. But also, third one is also engaging in meaningless activities is a type of laziness. And that can be quite challenging, and it could be also challenging maybe to determine what are meaningless activities and what are not meaningless activities. But in general, you know, we probably have the tendency to do simple things, easy things, something which, you know, can be easily done, and to the more difficult or more, but also often more meaningful things, we somehow skip, or we somehow covered by these less important things. And sometimes the Tibetan teachers say that especially we Westerners, we are good at this, as engaging in many meaningless activities, that we are not lazy in a sense of doing nothing, but we are lazy in a sense that it's difficult for us really to take the priorities right, and that we keep ourselves busy with things which don't really help us, let's say. So this is something to think about. Yeah, that all these are called laziness. Laziness of procrastination, laziness of putting ourselves down, and laziness of engaging in meaningless activities. And that what we mean by joyous effort here is delight in virtue. So it's not effort in anything, not putting effort into anything, but it's putting effort into what really matters, into collecting virtue, engaging in virtue. And it is also said that to develop joyous effort, or to somehow be inspired to do something, let's say, or to find enough energy in ourselves to practice, to do something, first thing we really need is the faith in what we are doing. And faith is said to be the mother of good qualities sometimes, or the faith is the forerunner of everything. So that's the first question probably we need to ask ourselves, if we really believe in what we are doing, if we are really convinced that it is the best thing to do what we are doing, if it is the best thing. Yeah. And the next step after generating faith in the teachings, and especially in the Bodhisattva path and in the result, the next stage should be aspiration. Really to aspire to accomplish something, aspire to walk the path and to make progress on the path and to achieve the result. And only by having faith and having aspiration, we can also generate joyous effort. So how we generate faith and aspiration, we need to remain, we need to remind ourselves of advantages of joyous effort or of our goals, and disadvantages of laziness or let's say not practicing or not seeking the goal. And Maitreya says in the text called Ornament of Mahayana Sutras, perseverance is just another translation of just effort, but here it's called perseverance. So perseverance is supreme among virtues because you obtain results relying upon it. Perseverance brings immediate temporal happiness, supramundane and worldly spiritual happiness. Through perseverance, we obtain what we desire in samsaric life. Perseverance leads to pure conduct, free us from view of perishable aggregates, perfect supreme qualities, and purify obstacles. So this is kind of summary of something we already mentioned, right? Yeah, we obtain results relying upon it, meaning if we any results we wish for, we have to create causes. We cannot just wait for it to happen, but we have to create causes, and by applying effort, this is how we create causes of anything we wish for. And it is also said, also worldly happiness, also what we desire in samsaric life. But in with spiritual wishes, the procedure is the same. We also have to create causes, and he speaks about immediate temporal happiness. So even if we wish for a little thing, we have to make effort to obtain it, but also for supramundane and spiritual happiness. And yeah, I mean, whatever we wish to achieve, whatever we wish to accomplish, it depends on joyous effort. And joyous effort also leads to pure conduct, which is the basis for all realizations. It's the very basis for any spiritual practice. Restraining from harm is the basis for any spiritual practice. And it frees us from view of perishable aggregates. And this is something we will talk about later in relation with perfection of wisdom, but basically this is the mistaken view that we exist in some kind of very solid, concrete way we don't really exist in. And also purifies obstacles. Perfect supreme qualities also purifies obstacles, because the more we are able to go for something, and the more familiar we are with the past, the easier it becomes, and the easier it becomes, and more courage we gain on the way. When we do something and we already see a partial result, then we are more motivated to continue, and we kind of purify obstacles or eliminate obstacles in that way. So we should really develop this determination to continue to go on, and nothing should stop us, and we shouldn't get discouraged by anything also. And when we have this attitude, this joyous effort attitude, then then everything will become easier. And on the other hand, it's also said in the text, laziness is basis for afflictions, for not using our potential, for wasting our life. Yeah, that can very easily happen, right? That we waste time, and also if we get used to a certain way of approaching things and looking for excuses and postponing them, then it's the more we get used to it, the more difficult it is to change the pattern. And this is also something we can experience in worldly life, but it's also the case for the spiritual path. Yeah, it will be much easier for afflictions to manifest if we don't really try to practice virtue, or if we don't really seek to achieve anything. And also, you know, it's if we have all these conditions we spoke about at the beginning, we have what is called precious life, and we have all the teachings available, and we have the great masters who are still around and who can still teach, and many of the teachings has been translated into languages we can understand. Then, you know, what else we could possibly wait for, or what could be better, or what else we could, yeah, what else we could require to start practicing, right? So that the only part which is missing usually is our own input and our own effort we need to develop, and we need to, yeah, we need to slowly start applying. There are 3 types of joyous effort. One is called armor-like joyous effort. Then the other one is called joyous effort in gathering virtue. And the third one is joyous effort in acting for welfare of sentient beings. And Bodhisattva practice requires all of them. The first one, armor-like, it's against discouragement. Yeah, armor-like joyous effort is kind of courage to stay with the practice all the way through to the goal. Because as we mentioned, it's to achieve Buddhahood, it's not an easy thing, and it will take probably a long time, and there will be many lifetimes we will need for it, and we will find ourselves even in many different circumstances and with many different beings around us, but we need something which will take us through. We need really the fortitude, the inner strength to persevere, and this is what is called armor-like effort. And also, Master Shantideva speaks about the serious consequences of giving up bodhicitta. So once we decide, once we take this decision to take this path, and we take the bodhisattva vow, and we decide to practice the 6th perfection, then we should really make sure that we will persevere, and that we won't really let all sentient beings to whom we basically promise that we will do something for them, so that we don't let them down. Because Shantideva says it would be really like betraying all sentient beings, giving up bodhicitta. Because they are waiting for us to become Buddha, to help them. So we really need, as Master Shantideva says, think about it well before we take the step, but then we have to persevere, then we must not give up. And armor-like joyous effort helps us in that. Then the second one is joyous effort of gathering virtue. So again, even small virtues are important, and we should engage in the virtuous practice with delight, without hesitation. Often they say, as a child in play, you know how children play, that they are completely fascinated by playing, and they have never enough. So in the same way, we should try to practice virtue, gather virtue. We should rejoice in what we are doing as well, and slowly we will progress from small virtue to more extensive or vaster virtue we can accumulate. And the third one, acting for welfare of sentient beings. Whatever can be done for others, Bodhisattva does it. So it's anything, yeah, any way how we can benefit others, but always with that final goal of achieving enlightenment for them. And the text also mentions a couple of conditions, a couple of factors that can help us to maintain joyous effort, and those are self-confidence, or being confident in being capable of achieving the goal of enlightenment, having Buddha's nature and having virtuous friends who lead us, and having all these conditions we need. Then also we need joy in what we are doing, knowing that it's meaningful. So that's also something, it's not for granted. We should remind ourselves of importance, or importance and meaning of deep meaning of what we are trying to achieve. And one of the factors we also need to take into consideration is knowing when to rest, meaning, taking, because also Bodhisattva needs to take a rest to gather strength to continue his or her path. So also knowing when to rest is important. And when we adopt the joyous effort, then it will be like Shantideva says in chapter on joyous effort. And he says, just as the wind blowing back and forth controls the movement of piece of cotton, so shall I be controlled by joy, and in this way accomplish everything. So this is what I wanted to say about the joyous effort, and we can take a break now for 10 minutes. So I will be back at 2:13 because now on my clock there is 2:03, and after the break we can have some questions, or we can continue and have questions in the end. If you feel there is something more to say about joyous effort, then we can speak about it after the break, and if not, then we continue with other two perfections. So please have a nice cup of tea, make yourself a nice cup of tea, and see you in a 10 minutes. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And a little break. Thank you.
Welcome back. Are you ready?
Hopefully people are here. Here we are, Caro,
Yes.
Lydia,
Yeah. Yes.
Ariela.
So Ariela, yes. Yeah. Judy, maybe not. So we can wait a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's off screen.
So before we move to concentration and wisdom, are there any questions or anything you would like to clarify or comment on?
I would like to
Yes, please.
posit a question then
Yes.
regarding patience. Patient as in endure suffering.
Yeah.
That's what I understood. But I guess enduring suffering also means if I just accept not getting what I want here right now, with all my craving and grasping and attachment.
Yes.
I guess that also when I renounce the understanding of wanting something here right now, or isn't that also patience? I mean,
to renounce something you want right now, you mean?
yeah, just be
Yes.
patient that I don't get it.
Yes. Yes, it can be. Certainly, it can be counted as patience, because we also need patience with ourselves and with the fact that we cannot always have what we want. Yes, yeah, because suffering is not just what we usually imagine, like very coarse suffering of pain or illness or but suffering is also not getting what you want, right? Or getting what you don't want, and all these sufferings of samsara, even slight dissatisfaction is suffering, and this is what we also need to be patient with. And somehow, if we don't really get upset because of not getting what we want, or not getting it quickly enough, or not getting it completely as we want, then yes, then that's also form of patience. Yes.
Thank you. Anybody? Yeah, Anna, good.
So sorry, Lars. Do finish, Lars.
No, Anna, you go first. You go first.
It was just a comment, really, and something I've been consciously adding to my practice and days and lifestyle, which is to give myself a rest, a break, in order to return to practice, daily activities, in a more mindful, concentrated, concerted way. And it's so much more effective than plowing through with tired, which is a lot more. And I haven't heard that. It's probably been said a lot, but I haven't heard that, and it's so useful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, because this is very important, actually, that we have different characters, right? And some people more tend to procrastinate, maybe, but there are also people who tend to overwork themselves and to push themselves so much, but then it probably can be effort, but it cannot be joyous effort anymore. So we really need to know when we need rest, and to find the good ways, also how to have a like skillful ways how to have a rest, so that we can keep ourselves happy. Yeah, so thank you for pointing it out, because it's very important, yeah, to have a good rest, to keep ourselves happy, and to keep going with happy, relaxed mind, not uptight or with tension, because that's not joyous effort anymore. Yeah, thank you.
And building onto that Anna said, how do I identify if I'm resting or procrastinating and being lazy? How would I know?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, that's a very good question. And well, as Lama Yeshe says, you have to become your own psychotherapist, right? But maybe not so much psychotherapist or in this case, but honest friend. So what I would suggest, imagine that you would like if you had a friend who would be exactly like you, what you would tell him, you know, if you like, would you tell him you need to work more, or would you tell him you need to rest more, or look at yourself as if you were your friend and you wanted honestly tell, no, which side you are leaning to. Yeah. So,
Thank
but
you.
it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. It's a middle way to find the balance. It's not so easy, but I think, you know, you can kind of feel it when it's not completely honest, when you are looking for excuses. So if you know, if you are in good touch with yourself in terms of being your honest friend, that you will figure out the way, I think. So, as we said, joyous effort is needed for anything we want to accomplish. Yeah, especially for big, meaningful aims we have on our spiritual path. But it is especially important for practicing the last two perfections, because they are said to be the most difficult to achieve or to make progress in. So we, especially once we develop joyous effort, or once we make sure that we have at least some joyous effort, then we should use it to, we should apply it to developing meditative stabilization. And meditative stabilization, or meditative concentration, that's the fifth perfection. And that is defined as virtuous mind that single-pointedly abides on its object without being distracted by other things. Which maybe sounds easy, but it's difficult to accomplish. But it's very important to achieve at least some degree of concentration, or some degree of awareness. Because again, Master Shantideva says, thus, having developed enthusiastic effort, place your mind in meditative stabilization. People whose mind are distracted live between the fangs of disturbing emotions. Okay. So this is something we should be aware of, that often we don't want to make mistakes. Yeah, we don't want to do anything negative, but by not paying enough attention, or not being enough mindful, or being on sort of autopilot, we do things without really realizing them, and we regret them later. So it's really important to develop a focused mind, and the ability to really be with what we are doing in the moment. And it's not only in meditation, but generally, you know, generally in life, in whatever we do, it's good to be present. It's good to be focused. And also this ability to stay with the object, not to get distracted, that's the basis for any other meditation, for any analytical meditation. Whatever realization we want to develop, we have to have a kind of workable, usable mind for it. And the basic quality is, yeah, to be able to focus, stable mind, able to focus, but in a relaxed way, not in uptight way. So this is something this is something which is definitely worthwhile to work with, and definitely worthwhile to try to achieve. This meditative concentration, or also we call it calm abiding, but actually calm abiding is one type of meditative stabilization, and it's the ability to stay with the object effortlessly for as long as we wish, which may sound completely miraculous, but it's possible to achieve. So this would be very useful also. That this would really make the mind somehow usable for other types of meditation and for other type of practice, because even whatever we do, if we recite prayers or if we study or if we concentrate, it will have much bigger effect, much deeper effect on us. And the teachers sometimes say that just reciting prayers without concentrating on what we are saying, it brings really limited effect. While if we are able to concentrate, it makes a huge difference. And also this calm abiding brings physical pliancy. It would also have an impact on our body. Yeah, we wouldn't feel pain here and there, and when we achieve calm abiding, and also our afflictions won't be able to manifest so strongly if we are really focused, if we have calm abiding. So it's not that by calm abiding we can eliminate them completely, but they wouldn't manifest so strongly. So this calm abiding has many different benefits for us, also for our body and also for our daily life, not just in meditative in meditation session. So it's worthwhile to work on developing concentration. Yeah. And how can we develop concentration? That's something to think about. And they often say we should start with short sessions, right? We shouldn't have big expectations at the beginning. So it's enough to take 5 minutes, and within the 5 minutes to try to concentrate on an object chosen. And breath is really recommended for the beginners because it is something which is naturally with us. We don't have to make so much effort to kind of find it because it's always there. And so to try to, for 5 minutes, to concentrate on a breath every day in the morning, after some time it will make difference. And then you can prolong the sessions also. But it's really important to set the goal at the beginning that for 5 minutes, I am going to stay with my breath no matter what. And if I get distracted and I notice it, I will get back to I won't follow up on what distracted me, but I will get back to the object of meditation. And we can certainly start practicing concentration in daily life, within our current activities, just finding time in the morning or in the evening. But they also say if you really want to make serious progress, then at some stage retreat would be necessary, or the retreat situation would be necessary. But even if you don't think about retreat yet, it's useful to know about conducive conditions or factors which would make us easier for us to develop concentration. And they are mentioned again in Ornament of Mahayana Sutras by Maitreya, and he says, in an intelligent person's place of practice, things are well found, the site is good, the ground is good, they are good friends, and the tools for practitioners' happiness. It might sound kind of general, but we can speak more about what those conditions or conducive conditions are. It should be a quiet place where there are not so many distractions. Of course, if we are looking for a place to retreat, it shouldn't be in a city where there are different sounds and all kind of distraction, and it's better to find quiet place for sure, in somewhere nature where there are not so many people and not so many sounds around and not so many smells and not so many sensual distractions, let's say. Things are well found means that you wouldn't have worries. You wouldn't worry about not having enough food or not having enough water or not having enough basic necessities. yeah, the site is good means reasonably comfortable. Yeah? It doesn't have to be luxurious, but you shouldn't really be too hot or too cold, or because that wouldn't help you to concentrate, of course. And they are good friends. That's also very much important. Good friends, ideally practitioners also, who would help you, who would support you, who would bring you what you need, who would support you, basically make it easier for you to stay in retreat, in concentration. And all the tools for practitioner happiness. But what are the tools for happiness? Well, the main tools for happiness are inside, and this is what is often mentioned as the most important condition to develop concentration, but for the Dharma practice in general, is contentment. Yeah, having few desires, not to have many desires. Be happy with normal food, normal clothes, normal devices we use, because the biggest distractions actually are our own thoughts or desires or attachments, or these thoughts that we are missing on something, or that we should have more, or we should have better something. So if you want to develop concentration, we have to start by making our life as simple as possible. In terms of, I don't need more, this is good enough. Food or clothes or room or environment, I don't need more or better or newer, this is good enough. That's really a basis of the success, let's say. And I was many times, I was told, I heard the stories that sometimes or often, people are sent to do their retreat in India or in Nepal because it's a holy land and there are many holy places and many past masters who meditated there before. But often the conditions are basic. Yeah, and for some people, this very fact of basic conditions, it's a source of distractions, and they often offer the best they can, but people are different from people are used to different standards of comfort, so they cannot meditate even if they spend their money and their holiday on it. They, because of having these expectations and these many desires, and then they are not able to meditate, really. So as a preliminary or as a preparation for retreat, one should really try to limit oneself in what is really necessary and what we really mean. And again, it's a way to find a balance, because there are things we do need, right? But try to see if we really need them. It's really contentment, to be content, not to have many desires. It's so important. Just imagine that the world would be completely different if people were able to say, okay, this is enough, I don't need more, this is enough for me, this is good enough for me. It would be completely, completely different place, and many problems would get solved by this. So contentment with few desires, it's probably the most important preliminary for developing concentration, especially, and in general for any virtuous practice. And when you try to meditate, to develop concentration, to develop this calm abiding mind, able to stay with the object effortlessly and as long as you wish, there are two main obstacles, they say, for meditation, and those two are excitement and laxity. Yeah, either the mind becomes somehow overexcited and it's difficult to concentrate on the object because of other often pleasant thoughts or sensations, maybe. And the other one is laxity, which is the opposite kind of, that the mind starts sinking, to be lethargic. We tend to fall asleep instead of being alert and instead of being with the object of meditation. And we really need to see them and to do something with them, because they say, especially with laxity, it can be quite pleasant. Well, excitement can also be pleasant, but laxity can be pleasant. And sometimes people say, oh, I was trying to meditate, but I fell asleep. And that's actually considered to be really dangerous, because then one develops this habit, yeah, to falling asleep during the meditation session, which is really not a good habit. So if we feel that, if we feel that we are leaning that side in the meditation, that we are falling asleep, it's probably better to stop for a moment and to wash your face with cold water or something, or do a few steps, or sometimes it helps just to think about light. For example, imagine light coming, bright but pleasant light coming, or think about something which energizes you, like precious human rebirth or something. And if the thought doesn't help, then it's probably better to do something more, but to get off laxity. And for excitement, for overexcitement, they say it's good to remember something, which will ground us, which will take us back to the earth, let's say, from these excited thoughts, and that could be death and impermanence and things like that. But the important thing is to notice that if one of those are there, and to do something about it, and not to really give ourselves into it. As I said at the beginning, when we were trying to practice concentration on breath, when you notice in your meditation that you are distracted, you should really get back to the original object. Yeah, and even virtuous distractions are distractions. Even if you are trying to concentrate, and then you suddenly remember something, that you would like to help somebody, or you would like to do something for somebody, then it's virtuous thought, but nevertheless it's a distraction in the meditation. So when you notice it, then you should go back to the object of meditation and not to elaborate on it anymore. And the main tools, let's say, in concentration meditation are called mindfulness and introspection. Mindfulness and introspection. Mindfulness here means not forgetting what we are doing, basically. Yeah, in Tibetan there is the same word for mindfulness and memory, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, so it could be also, it would be also called remembering the instructions, remembering what we are doing. Yeah, not to get lost completely. And introspection basically means checking if we are doing what we are supposed to do. Yeah, that's kind of a corner of our mind, checking on what's happening, and if we are in the right direction, heading the right direction, or if we are completely lost. So those should be applied when we meditate. And we should also keep in mind that concentration is not exclusively Buddhist practice. Yeah, that it's not necessarily like it doesn't necessarily lead to enlightenment or not even necessarily to liberation. And you probably know the story of Buddha Shakyamuni, who was the prince in a palace, and then he always wanted to see how the world behind the palace walls is, and his father didn't let him. And then suddenly he decided that you know, so somehow the prince was so insisting that the father gave his permission, and then the prince, only then he saw all suffering and sickness and dead body and all that. And after that he left the palace because he was terrified by suffering and he wanted to find a way how to eliminate suffering, right? So you probably heard it. And then after that he spent years by studying with different masters, Hindu masters of the time, and he reportedly achieve very high levels of concentration. But at some point he realized that this is not the way, that this itself doesn't really help. Yeah, and this is what we should be aware of, that it's the more we develop concentration, the more pleasant it is. They say, I don't have experience, but they say the more you are able to concentrate, the better you feel, and the body feels light and the mind feels light, and some people become attached to this state of concentrations, and they want more and more and more subtle states of concentration. But that itself is not really, you know, that itself doesn't lead to liberation, as Buddha himself experienced. So what really makes the concentration should always be a tool, not the goal by itself, but tool for our analytical meditation, and a tool for realizing emptiness, basically realizing emptiness of true existence, mainly. Yeah. And in our context, what makes concentration, perfection of concentration, again, is bodhicitta motivation. That we don't do it to feel better or to, you know, feel calmer or just that, but that we do it to support other practices, to be able to achieve Buddhahood. That's the final goal. And I will read you what Lama Tsongkhapa says about concentration, about the perfection of concentration in his Song of Experience, which is one of the short Lamrim texts by Lama Tsongkhapa. It's called Song of Experience, or also here it is translated as a summary of the stages of the path. But yeah, in any case, Jerimpoche says, concentration is the king with dominion over the mind, one placed, immovable like the king of mountains. When directed, it engages with every kind of virtuous object. Knowing this, powerful yogis continually practice meditative stabilization, which defeats all harmful distractions. So he calls concentration to be a king, meaning, you know, with concentration, we are really in control of our mind, and it doesn't run here or there, you know, without unattended. It's not like the wild monkey, as they sometimes say, because you probably saw that picture of stages of calm abiding, and there is this monkey and this elephant, which is completely unsubdued. So this is what ordinary mind is, right? That we are not very much in control what's happening in it. While once we achieve certain level of concentration, we will be in control and over in the dominion of our mind. And once placed, immovable like a king of mountains, we are really able to stick to what we want to concentrate on, what we want to engage with. So this is what concentration does for us. When directed, it engages every kind of virtuous object. So we can use concentration for any virtuous practice, for any analytical meditation, and induces the great bliss also of body and mind, which I mentioned before, that it's very calm and blissful state, and it's a kind of danger to become addicted to it, but it does this to us also, to our body and to our mind. And when are you in deep state of concentration, you don't need to eat, you don't need to drink, you don't get you know, you are not the changes of the like aging changes of body are not so fast. So there are all these benefits, but that's not the most important thing. Yeah, because powerful yogis, they continually practice meditative stabilization to defeat distractions and afflictions. That's the final goal. That's what we need concentration for. And the last perfection we are going to talk about is perfection of wisdom, which is the most difficult to be developed. And we need concentration to be able to develop wisdom, because the way how we develop wisdom, at least how it is explained in this tradition, in a Gelug tradition, is that with or let's start with what wisdom is actually, what we mean by wisdom. Yeah, wisdom is extremely important, and they say that other perfections without wisdom are blind. That wisdom is actually the eyes of all other perfections. And sometimes this wisdom is called discriminative awareness, and it is defined, Alex Berzin defines it as a state of mind with which we can discern correctly and decisively all knowable phenomena, and the actual way in which they exist. So this is the ideal state. This is omniscience, right? All knowable phenomena. This is what Buddha has. This is what is in Buddha's mind. Yeah, but we need to progress that way. Yeah, because we want to become omniscient, so we need to go that direction, and we can start by analyzing relations between phenomena and causes and effects, and what is harmful and what is helpful, and use our reasoning, this ability of reasoning. That's very important. Buddha himself said that we shouldn't accept what he says just because of our devotion for him, but we should use our own reasoning and analyzing abilities to make conclusions for ourselves. So when we analyze, or when we try to figure out how things works around us, then that we call conventional wisdom. But we also try to see what really, if things really exist in the way how they appear to us, or what makes them to be what they are, let's say, and that this type of reason, this type of analysis, or this leads to ultimate wisdom, or we also say knowing reality as it is. So the perfection of wisdom again has to be accompanied by bodhicitta motivation, and the very perfection of wisdom is omniscience, knowing everything, knowing all phenomena, and seeing convention and ultimate truth at the same time, which can be only done by Buddha. And what I wanted to mention, but now it's better to mention it now, because you have already an idea what we mean by wisdom. Just knowing, knowing both conventional and ultimate sides of reality, and how we access reality, or how we cognize reality. Well, there are phenomena which are called manifest, and those are accessible to our senses. Let's say those are things we can feel, we can see, we can hear, we can experience. But then there is something which is called hidden phenomena, and those are not really accessible to our senses. We cannot see them, we cannot smell them, we cannot hear them. And the only way how we can access them is through reasoning. Yeah, that's why it's really important to analyze things and to reflect upon things, because it's for certain type of phenomena, like, for example, subtle impermanence, or the most important being emptiness, they cannot be accessed by senses, so eventually they have to be accessed by reasoning. They have to be realized in depends on a correct reason, And the type of mind which realizes it's called inferential valid cognizer. So this is why we need analytical meditation, because there are things we cannot access with senses and we can only access with this reasoning mind. But once we realize them inferentially, once we get to them through reasoning, that's only the first step. And we have to continue unless we get what is called direct realization. And direct realization of these phenomena which are not accessible to senses, that requires what is called yogic direct perceiver, a very special type of mind that ordinary beings don't have, and that is based upon so-called union of calm abiding and special insight. And for this we need deep concentration, because that very conclusion we realize with reasoning we need to focus on with concentration, so that the meaning generality, or let's say the conceptual part of the whole thing becomes less and less and less, and suddenly we develop this mind which is able to penetrate even hidden phenomena without concept, meaning without meaning generality, or without just a conceptual image, let's say, which is able to penetrate them directly. And I know this is very difficult to imagine, and for me it's also difficult to imagine, because as I said, this yogic direct perceiver is something only Arya beings have, ordinary beings don't have them. But what is important for us to know, they are based on concentration and also on analytical meditation, because special insight is actually an analytical wisdom. Yeah. So we need concentration in order to develop wisdom, directly realizing hidden phenomena. And as I mentioned, the most important hidden phenomenon we need to access, or we need to realize, we need to familiarize with, we need to investigate, we need to realize is emptiness. And yeah, emptiness, it's something we speak often about and we hear often. It's very important, but we really need to know what it is and why is it so important. And to answer these questions, we need to see, or we need to accept one thing, and that is that the root of all our problems, everything can be traced back to our negative actions of past, right? Our suffering of this life can be traced to our negative actions in past lives, if we believe in past lives, of course, and if we believe in a cause and effect. And our negative actions, they can be traced back to our afflictions, to our disturbing emotions, or our negative states of mind. But our negative states of mind can be again traced back to one, and that is ignorance. Yeah, that is what we call ignorance. And we also say that our ignorance is a cause of our root of our problems, root of samsara, root of any root of all this unsatisfactory situation we are in. But we need to know what it is, this ignorance. Normally, when we say ignorance, we would just imagine not knowing something, ignoring something, not knowing something, or maybe knowing but not wanting to know. But what we mean here by ignorance is active misinterpreting, let's say, actively misinterpreting situation. Like seeing something which is not there, and because of that not seeing which is really there. So what is there, or what is this emptiness? Emptiness is emptiness of inherent existence, or lack of inherent existence. And what is this inherent existence? Well, that doesn't exist, in fact, yeah, because the wisdom realizes lack of this inherent existence, or absence of inherent existence. But how we normally approach things and apprehend things is as if they existed from themselves and by themselves and independently on other things. Yeah, we usually see things as being by their own power, from their own side, able to give us either happiness or unhappiness, that they are pleasant from their own side or unpleasant from their own side. And if we see them as pleasant from their own side, then we develop attachment. If we see them unpleasant from their own side, then we develop aversion. But in fact, there is nothing, all people and all phenomena, anything we can think of, nothing can exist in that way. Nothing has anything in itself to make it what it is, and no really qualities are inherent to those objects. It's all what we call merely imputed by mind, meaning that things don't really have power to make us happy or unhappy. They don't even have their own power to be what they are. It all depends on all kind of relationships called depend. Everything is dependent arising, and everything also depends on our mind. Yeah, on imputation of our mind. Nothing can be what it is by its own power. It always depends on somebody who would label it in that way, or on our convention as a society that we would call something with a special name, or for you, this is in order for this to be a cup, you need to know English language, otherwise it wouldn't be a cup, right, for you, and your mother had to explain you that it's a cup, but there is nothing in this thing anywhere, not here, not inside, nothing in this thing here that would make it to be cup. There is no cupness, there is nothing in it which would make it a cup. Yeah, so maybe it's not so important with cup, right? Because we don't have any special strong emotion for cup, but it's very important with things which are somehow emotionally charged for us, and it's very important in the way how we apprehend ourselves. Yeah, because I don't exist inherently. There is a body, there is a mind, but there is no I which we could find and point out. But we see ourselves as existing really in a solid way, and I want that and I don't want that, and but what is this I? Where is this I? So this is something we need to investigate, and eventually we need to realize that there is no such an existence we somehow project into things. And yeah, and this it's very difficult to even imagine how it would be when we really realize emptiness, but people say, or the texts say actually, that it will bring a huge relief. It will be something like if you have a very bad dream, but you feel it's so real, it's so you are completely engaged in it, and then you suddenly wake up and you know that it was not real, that it was just a dream. Yeah, so all those things we see so real and so heavy and so somehow solid, they in fact they don't exist in that way. So this is something which is easy to speak about but difficult to understand, let alone to realize in deep concentration. But this is the last perfection, and this also, this wisdom realizing emptiness, this is the actual antidote to all afflictive obscurations, and there is no way, not even to liberation from samsara, let alone Buddhahood. There is no way out of suffering without realizing emptiness. So that's why this perfection of wisdom is so important, and there would be a lot to say about it. But just we should, when we practice generosity or patience or any other perfections, any virtuous actions, we should try to be aware of ourselves being empty of true existence, and recipient of our generosity, being not existing from his own side or her own side, and also the act of generosity itself, not really being there, not really existing from its own side, but being just labeled, just existing in just is this in this imputed way, not in this objective way, let's say, but just independence on our mind. Yes, so this is all I was able to say, and the time is running very quickly, and we are already getting to the end of our session. So please, if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer. But if not, if not, it's also okay. Yeah, because I realized that it's a huge topic and we didn't have much time. And, I was talking and talking and talking. And now you please take time to think about it. Yeah, if there was anything useful, what I said, please take time to think about it. And please, let's also dedicate merit together. Because, the fact that you are here, and you are trying to listen all the time, and that you have this wish to engage in these teachings, to practice them, that's amazing. There are not so many people in the world who would do it, who would put their energy in this way. So rejoice in your merit, and and let's do the dedication together. I thought we could read the dedication from Bodhisattva Charyavatara, just the short version. His Holiness the Dalai Lama likes. So if I'm able to share screen,
you can share the screen.
Okay. So yeah. Can you see it? Because I know that it's somehow strange, the page, but yeah. But if you cannot see it, then don't worry and just listen and just be there with your mind. But yeah, I would really like to do it because it's important, and I think we have chosen, or you have chosen the most important topic, and we touched bodhicitta together, which is the most amazing mind. So let's finish with the most amazing dedication, which is the favorite one of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May all those bodies are worn restored be restored in finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments, and whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never appear again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world.